Okay, hello, I'm Andrew. I'm one of the co-directors of Walk, Listen, Create, and probably most to Emma than anyone else. Walk, Listen, Create is a social enterprise, and we support artists, performers, and writers who make work on foot or to be experienced on foot, which is absolutely perfect for what Ali has already achieved and what she's going to tell us all about today. Ali Pretty. Let me introduce Ali Pretty. Ali Pretty. I met Ali about 7 or 8 years ago, and she was involved and had created this fantastic idea of linking the white horses, the ones which are chalked into the hillsides of Wiltshire, as a walk around, but also by using her skills for painting silk. Um, and silk painting is really what Ali's key medium is. But since about 8 years ago, she's managed to do lots of walking. She walks like a rocket. I absolutely, you cannot keep up with Ali. She's an absolute dynamo, not just in what she walks and where she walks, but also in her creative stuff. Some of you might know she was the artistic director, or still is, of Kinetica. And she once told me that I think you'd been involved with about 20 Notting Hill carnivals, where you'd been doing banners and silk pageantry for the Notting Hill carnivals for quite many years. So she probably knows more about large numbers of people walking than anybody else on the planet, because I think the Notting Hill Carnival attracts about 1 million walkers. So that gives you an idea of the enthusiasm and popular nature of that carnival. Anyway, as what can we say? She has been developing a modest pilot, which took place in Thurrock in the Thames estuary. It was the last couple of years, I think. And last year, was it last year or the year before? A fantastic bit of walking along the coast, the east coast of England. And suddenly she said, "Oh, let's walk around the whole of the United Kingdom." So tell us a bit more about Beach of Dreams.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, so I kind of walked out of carnival, and now I think I'm walking with silks. It's kind of like doing slow carnival, if you like. So I am actually the artistic director of a company called Kinetica, and that's been going for 27 years. And at the core of our work is to engage and empower communities to think about lives and futures through the medium of arts. And since actually it's been since 2012, so actually it's now 12 years that I've been doing this walking thing. We've been using walking as a practice. And when I first said to somebody I'm going to be a walking artist, I didn't know that there was a world of walking artists. And at first I was like, oh, okay, I thought that was an original idea. So it's not at all. So anyway, this is the way I do it. So I'm just going to share my screen. That seems to work, hopefully. Oh, I press share. Okay, great. So, and it's really lovely to see Tamsin, because she was part of the moment when we said let's do it around the UK, and she knows, and that was actually in 2021. So it's been like 3 years of slog to kind of get it to be at a national level. So I am very excited by that. So Beach of Dreams is now going to be a UK-wide coastal arts festival from the 1st of May to the 1st of June 2025. There are ways in which everyone could get involved, even if you're on a beach, which is not in the UK, because the concept's quite simple. So what we do have is the festival is kind of held by 8 kind of pillars of partners in different regions, of which I'm going to tell you who the partners are and who the artists. So you can see they're on a map, though the sort of pinky purple ones are the regional partners for 2025. And as Andrew mentioned, we started on that green one that says Suffolk and Essex coastline. So we started a pilot. We didn't know it was a pilot at that point, a 500-mile journey from Lowestoft to Tilbury. And last year we were commissioned by the Morecambe Bay Partnership to do 120 miles in the Morecambe Bay. So yeah, that is the map. So, and then I'm going to talk about the new ones that are coming in for 2025. So our hope, our vision, our imagination is that Beach of Dreams as a festival will engage hundreds of thousands of people journeying the UK coastline on foot, by boat, in a major interdisciplinary art and digital program. So we're inviting people to kind of come up, and this is very poignant in terms of walking artists, to think about creating their own kind of walks, journeys by boat, taking part in outdoor arts activity, and also to think about how we can host talks, writing events, literature events, because Beach of Dreams is actually about something. So why are we doing it? We and I think you might agree, that believe that artistic interventions that engage communities in walking can create an emotional connection to the landscape. And so the model that we've been developing in Thurrock, which is a place which you may not engage with emotionally in terms of a beautiful landscape, but you do in terms of the grit. But we've seen over 10 years by developing an annual walking festival that people get more connected to place, connected to each other, and it inspires them to get out and be active and do stuff. So we are challenging ourselves to experiment, to think how, if we do this through Beach of Dreams around the coast, and we're asking people the question, how can we take care of our coastline to create a healthier, happier, more sustainable future for communities that live on it? Will people become more active as a result of Beach of Dreams? We don't know that answer, but that will be, for me, what success would look like. It's like to say, well, hey, governments around the world, leaders around the world, artists have an absolutely crucial role to play in being a key part of supporting people to shape their own futures. So bring us in at the center of society. So the model is walking, talking, and making, and that's what we call our festival in Thurrock. So, and how we developed our festival, and this Beach of Dreams model has grown over those 10 or maybe 12 years to kind of hone the model. So Connecticut, as I said, has always been about communities, listening to communities tell their stories. And as Andrew alluded to, I was used to be doing carnival. And when we were doing carnivals, we were doing big epic narratives, but the story was always at the center of the projects. So in the walking and talking, we're thinking about how can what narrative, and we normally ask, have a particular question. So the walking enables us to listen to communities in their communities. So we have invited, and we do invite, the communities we work with to map and lead their own walks, so that they are kind of they curate those themselves, and around a theme or a conversation which has a question, which I'm going to come back to questions, or I'd like to have a conversation about the importance of a question. So if you like, you might be on a quest to find the answers to the question through your walk. And then as artists, what we usually do is recce those walks and those routes, and have the conversations, and then with the communities who live there, and then that then gets expressed in some kind of art form. In our case, it's often around silk painting and banners and flags, but it has involved songwriting, poetry, puppetry, cooking, gardening, dyeing, many things. So, and as I go through this presentation, we'll be thinking about lots of different artists getting involved, some of whom would not call themselves walking artists, but they're going to be asked to walk in Beach of Dreams. So those are our 3 strands of activity that we're thinking about. Now, I know that Tamsin knows this story, but I'm going to tell it again. So how did this come about? So in our many years of walking, when we got to 2017, we were having a walk along the River Thames. And when I first was in Wiltshire and I started thinking, oh, this walking thing is quite interesting, I was thinking about having a conversation that unfolds over a continuous walk over several days, and to explore what happens when you walk continuously. And so when you stop thinking about the shopping list in your head and because you've thought about all those things, and then they don't become irrelevant. And then when you've walked and you're in a particular space, a different kind of thinking emerges. So I wanted, and I also wanted to explore with the digital platforms so that the conversation is on the ground and the person or the people that walk every day kind of hold that conversation because they're taking the stories from one day to the next. But it also kind of unfold online, since we have so much technology and potential for communicating now. And back in 2012, it was at a less developed, obviously, than it is now, where everybody's online the whole time. So I wanted to engage writers to help tell that story. So I had met Kevin Rushby, who's a Guardian travel journalist, and some years back, and I said, "Oh, Kevin, would you like to come for a walk with me? You know, it's 150 miles east down the Thames." He said, "Oh, okay, yeah, all right, okay." And I said, "Then we get to go to India." "Yeah, okay." So anyway, he was writing a daily blog, and on this particular stretch of beach here, we had just walked from Tilbury Docks towards East Tilbury, and it's a really scruffy bit of Thames foreshore, which usually looks like pretty uninviting. It's got old industry, usually quite a lot of rubbish on the beach. And so it's like, that's the landscape of Thurrock. And then we suddenly got here on a sunny September afternoon. And Kevin, we were on the main path. Kevin leapt over to the foreshore and went, "What is this? This is a treasure. Why is this beach glistening?" And he was like, so somebody said, "Well, actually it's a dump." And it was a dump from 1945 when, the London was bombed. And then, we just kind of put all the rubble from the houses on the foreshore. And so it's the ceramics and the glass that is really embedded in that Thames mud, that every time the tide comes in and out, up pop the gems, and when the sun shines, it's glistening. So Kevin wrote, "What dreams were shattered when the bomb went off? This is the beach of broken dreams." And there lies the crux of the story. Great narrative lines. So I was like, so where's the beach of dreams? If we've got the beach of broken dreams, we better go and find it. So inevitably, looking for the beach of dreams, probably going to be looking for the rest of our lives. So it's quite a good pilgrimage quest. So we are in search of the beach of dreams. So that's how it started. And Kevin is still involved, and he still said to me, "Why do I have to walk around Essex the whole time?" So we're going to offer him to walk around to other places. So 2021, we developed a project and the concept. And it was quite a challenge because we were in lockdown and for the second winter. And I had sort of dreamt up the project. And I said, "Right, we're going to walk 500 miles. And I said to somebody, "Can you map 500 miles?" They're like, "There's not 500 miles in Essex." I said, "We'll make 500 miles in Essex. We'll just go up and down all those rivers." And then I was like, so then we did 500 Eventbrite bookings. And so people signed up to adopt a mile, and which is the only place they could walk because they were locked down. And so then what they had to do was they had to write about their mile, what connected them to it, and when they looked at the horizon, what they could see or imagine for the future of their mile for their great, great, great grandchildren. So they wrote their stories, beautiful stories, and then they submitted photographs and sometimes drawings. And we turned those drawings into 500 hand-woven silk naturally dyed pennants, and this is them on the beach in Lowestoft. And then when we started the journey, as lockdown was sort of easing, we would go, "Okay, Tamsin, your mile number 57, here is your silk, lead your mile, tell us your story." So it's a kind of model where the leadership passes every mile. And for me, there's something really interesting in that. So I'm going to sort of keep going, and I'm hoping you're going to ask some questions and have a debate about this kind of leadership model. And then the next year, 2023, we were commissioned by Morecambe Bay Partnership to do 120 miles around Morecambe Bay. And in the interim, as Tamsin mentioned, in 2021 for COP26, I was quite despondent about whether we could actually make any difference at all. So I thought, "Oh, well, we'd better just go to COP and take the 500 hopes with us and dreams." And Jonathan Baxter was organising a pilgrimage from Dunbar to Glasgow. So I picked up with the pilgrims in Edinburgh, and we walked into Glasgow with the silks, and quite a few people were like, "Oh, yes, this is quite good. Should we do a bit more?" And so I was like, "Yeah, okay." And then, landed myself the task of having to make it happen. which now looks a bit more closer to happening. So in 2025, we've kind of adapted the model. I would like to say now we are not going to walk every single mile of the UK coastline unless other people adopt it. But we are covering the stories of the UK coastline, and we're opening to people joining on different stretches. But what we are doing is we are having a very amazing creative program. So it's like a festival, and around those 8 regional partners, we'll have hubs of activity. So I've got a wonderful team of artists, and we are together curating the different pieces of work. So although each individual artist has their own practice, but we're working under the same methodology. So the silks, which are now 626 of them, is what we're knowing as the National Commission, the Beach of Dreams Silk. And each commission is underpinned by a question. So the point of the project is to reimagine our futures along the coastline and to respond to the climate emergency. And I don't know about you, but it can be quite overwhelming to think about, we've got the climate emergency, what we're going to do about it, because it's so it's part of all aspects of our lives, and the fact that we need to live a different kind of future, it touches every kind of everything we're doing. And so our question is, where does color come from? So in Connecticut, because we are experimenting with all these different colors which we're using with the natural dyes, and we've found different colors from, like in Morecambe Bay, there's Dyer's greenweed, which is a particular yellow that comes out of Kendal, for example. So we're doing a natural dye experiment, and we're inviting people who want to have a silk and adopt a mar and add to the 626 pennants, and we're thinking we might get to 1,000 by May 2025. And so every time we go somewhere, there'll be people will add their pennants, and it will grow and reflect more of the coastline as we go. So that's the kind of spine and the aesthetic that will link all of those places together. This is the process of the design, which I've just talked through, using batik and silk and natural dyes. So this is what May 2025 is going to look like. So some people, I think Marlene said she's coming to the UK in May 25. So these are your options. You might like to come and see what we're doing and meet the artists and the partners. So it's going to start on May the 3rd at the Tilbury Cruise Terminal, kind of pretty much where the Beach of Broken Dreams is. So we're going to have, on May the 1st, we'll walk from the Beach of Broken Dreams to the Tilbury Cruise Terminal and go, look at all these things that we've created since then. And we're working on the question, what tales do our waste tell? So we're doing Ray Rahman here. He's a UK Bangladeshi fashion designer and textile activist, I'd say. And his commission is called Threads for Tomorrow. So what happened to the original 500 silks was they actually met a bit of a climate disaster on the south coast last September, when they were up for 4 days, and they kind of ripped themselves into shreds. So the original 500 silks, so they need sewing back together, because we can't have people's broken dreams scattered all over the place. So Ray is going to work with 8 sewing groups on a massive embroidery project to embroider these silks back together, and then create panels which are going to form 2 carnivalesque boat structures and a massive carnival type costume, the Queen of Beach of Dreams, which will become the centerpiece amongst the thousands of silk flags. And we're going to be doing something, we don't know what, but animated at the Tilbury Cruise Terminal on the River Thames. And he's going to lead walks in advance where he collects up some of those gems from the foreshore and embroiders them in to the silk. So he will bring those in. So that's what he's up to. So Saturday the 3rd of May. Then our next stop is Colwyn Bay in Wales. And our question is, what can be revealed if we truly listen? And we're working with an amazing sound artist called Jason Singh, who does actually do deep, he's a beatboxer, composer, and he started doing these deep listening walks in nature. And he has this massive collection of microphones, which I saw him do a presentation in North Wales the other day. And he's going, hey, guess what I could do with this? He gets his microphone out and he sticks it on a mushroom, and then he kind of gets the electric energy of that, and he takes the data and he turns that into a tune, and he's like, hey guys, this is my mushroom tune. And then he kind of does a mix, and this is my coastal erosion noise, and I'm mixing it with my mushroom. And apparently he does these gigs where, you know, bring your house plant, and he literally DJs off the plants. So he's kind of something else. And we're working with these small town councils in North Wales, and Jason's in the town council chamber doing these noises and these stories, and they're all going, whoa, what's happening? So then we did a list of all the species they want to know what it sounds like. So they've got a honeycomb worm that next week is got to go and try and find the sound of the honeycomb worm. So that's, you know, it's just brilliant, all these things. So that's 10th of May, anywhere near North Wales. We're hoping that he's going to do a DJ set in Colwyn Bay. And I think that will get Manchester out down to see him. So he's fantastic, amazing. And then a bit of a tough overnight journey from North Wales to South Shields. So we then get to Sandhaven Beach on the northeast coast. And our question is, what lies beyond the water edge? Kelp, oysters, and seagrass. So we're working with Stronger Shores, which are a DEFRA-funded innovation project, who are looking at nature-based solutions to rising tides and coastal erosion with kelp, oysters, and seagrass. But you can't really engage with them so easily because they're beyond the water's edge. So Emily from Stronger Shores is like, I really want people to sort of care about the oysters. And so maybe if we could write stories or poems and stuff about them, you know, maybe we can get more people engaged in our project. So Syra Niazi, and walking artist and writer, and Tessa Bunny, photographer, doing a commission together to create an anthology, of illustrated photographic anthology of poems and stories, working with communities along that coastline. And there will also be an event on the beach there. So then we go back all the way over to Northern Ireland, and we're working with Beat Carnival, who are absolutely fantastic organisation. And their question is, what does the sea sing to you? And they're going to create a song called Our Siren Song. And we're working along the Ards Peninsula in County Down, with 6 very kind of remote coastal communities. And Stephen Beggs is a lead artist there, theatre director, songwriter, and they're going to have community choirs. And they want to look at previously how, particularly in Ireland and Scotland, you know, the sea was the trading route, was the main way where people got around, and kind of looking back to what the connections and the mythology around the sea was, and use that as a way of connecting people back in. And we did this tour in the summer to meet all the partners. And so we were there on Millar Beach, and I was like, oh my God, you can see Scotland. It's really close. I hadn't realized how close it was. It's like, oh, how about that's only 13.5 miles. And I was like, oh, you could row that, couldn't you? So they're like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. You will row from Ireland to Scotland. And then so it'd be like, oh, our silks are gifts to Scotland. And so it's like, oh, brilliant. So we'll do postcards and send the post over on by boat. So they've had that idea, and now they've had that idea, they need to make it happen. So in fact, then the Scottish people could be on the beach. I think it's Kincardine, and you know, welcome them to Scotland. But in the film shot, we're going to cut it so that obviously then the Scottish are going to sort of like be there on the beach and row out and do that. So actually, so what we're going to be doing next, we won't be in Kincardine, but we will be in Fife. So we'll be off in Fife from the 19th to 24th of May. We're working with the Fife Countryside and Coastal Trust. And our question is, when is it that we are in our element? And that's been inspired by Julie Brooke, who's a phenomenal landscape artist. Don't know if the Scottish people in the room know Julie Brooke. She's based on the Isle of Skye. She did her first piece in the Isle of Jura. She's kind of very dedicated, slightly eccentric, but very lovely, because she kind of, when she did her first practice, she stayed on the Isle of Jura for like 9 months under a rock, you know, moving bits around and creating. She's quite famous for these fire stacks that she's been doing in remote areas. And so she and I walked the Five Coast Path a few weekends ago when it was very sunny. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what she's going to do, but it's called Tide Line, and it's working with the tide on one of the kind of more rugged bits of the Five Coast Path, sort of somewhere between Pittenweem and St Andrews. But we're going to be doing a continual walk there, so like the original Beach of Dreams model, because the Five Coast Trust are really popping and they really want people to engage with their coastline. And like literally, I can't believe it. It's like in all those 5 villages and stuff, there's organizations popping up going, oh, I've got this community group and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. So it's like really active in Fife. And I keep saying, you know, Fife have really got it going on, guys, in Ireland, you need to step up. So and also there's this, I don't know, project called the Big Hoof, which is about trekking with horses. So we're going to have horses on that trek as well. And we're going to do a big ceilidh on the beach in St Andrews on the 24th of May. So watch this space. Anybody want to go on holiday in the UK? I reckon Fife's your bet. So then we do quite a long, again, overnight stint from Fife back down to the East Coast, where we are going to be working with Historic England. So we've been funded by Historic England to do a deep dive into reimagining the East Coast narratives. And our question is, what role does the shifting coast play in shaping our collective dreams? And that's going to be in Harwich, Orford Ness and Great Yarmouth. And we're working with the Essex Book Festival and Out There Arts to collect stories, make silks. And Orford Ness is full of stories and ghosts and mystery and, you know, many stories, because it was all under the Official Secrets Act, so nobody's really allowed to tell the truth. So there's many stories around the truth, because it was an atomic research weapons research station. So yeah, it's full of potential for writers, that is for sure. I think I've got a weekend in November where I have to stay over there for the weekend, and it's haunted apparently. So yeah. And then we're kind of coming towards the end of the month. So we walk up from Harwich towards Great Yarmouth and hopefully pick up some of the people that the original 500 silks are made. And we're going to arrive on the beach there where Out There Arts, who are a big circus and street arts company, do a big festival that May weekend. And on May the 31st, we're going to be collaborating with C Mozo, who are from the south of France, who make these amazing bamboo structures. And we're looking at the durability and architectural possibility with bamboo, but also we're going to do some collaboration with the silks and work with Charlene here, who's a choreographer, to kind of create a Beach of Dreams animated village. So we'll see what happens there. And then we get to Sunday, the 1st of June. And, you know, we kind of have a moment. We go, well, you know, what's going on? What happened? What's the end of the story? Have those pilgrims found the Beach of Dreams or not? And whose story is it anyway? So we're working in Hastings was it Jane who's in Hastings? Yes, it's Jane in Hastings with MSL Projects, who are working with Anders Lustgarten, who is a contemporary and provocative political playwright. Very, very left field playwright. He has just written a novel called Three Burials, and he is focusing, as a lot of people are on the southeast coast, on small boats and arrivals and futures of people who land up on that coast and what happens to their dreams when they arrive at that coast. Not always a great story. So he's going to be collecting stories and then doing a kind of contemporary Canterbury Tales, but it'll be a Beach of Dreams Tales. And I said, look, Anders, you've got the last word. It's the 1st of June. So, you know, you've got to write an ending, mate. And he's like, oh, I'm crap at endings. So we'll see what he does. But I've got a feeling that we might still need to keep looking for the Beach of Dreams. I'm not sure, we might find it in Bulverhyde. So then we'll sort of disappear over the hill, Bexhill, and for quite a long time. And then we're going to reappear for a kind of finale event in Dorset. So Emma's in Dorset. And we're going to be walking into Weymouth. And I think what we might do is invite all the participants back and have many people walking from different parts to Weymouth, where we'll be part of the Inside Out Festival, but Activate have been running. and we'll be doing our international commission with Jai Chandran, who's based in Bengaluru in India, and he runs Atakalari, which is a center for movement arts, and his practice is evolved from the martial arts of Kerala. And so he really knows how to do something with sticks and silks. And so he's been using that practice. And we did a little taster in Bengaluru last winter. And actually, just in case you want another good gig to come to, we're going to do a performance on Goa Beach on the 21st of December this year, 24. So we're going to be developing it in India. And then he's going to be coming over, collaborating with Charlene, who is a UK Chinese-based choreographer who also has martial arts as part of her practice, to see what we can do if we can spin 1,000 silks on that beach with our feet in the water. That's a thing. So, you know, think about saving your dates now. And so that will be that week in Weymouth is also when we will want to present people's climate pledges. So we'll be asking each people this time, what is your imagination of the future and what are you going to do about it? So all through the next year, we'll be starting to collect people's, what are you going to do about it? And then we're going to find a kind of a suitable way of sharing it. And I don't know what will happen next, because that's probably asking me, what's going to happen after Beach Regimes? I don't know, but we'll find out when we're doing it, and something no doubt will happen. And so that is kind of the outline of the creative program and the practice and the model, which I'm kind of interested to pick apart with you experienced people. And if you want to join, there's lots of different ways of joining. You can show up, like join a walk in any one of those places where we've already got a creative program. You might decide, you know, you might not be in the UK and you might be in the East Coast of Canada or somewhere, and you might go, oh, I'm going to do a Beach of Dreams inspired walk, or I might do it somewhere else, which isn't part of the regional event, where you do a pop-up walk. We will load that up onto the national calendar of events so that people can go, oh, I could go to all over these places to be part of Beach of Dreams. You could decide you want to be part of the national artwork, and you might decide I want to have my silk and my dream add to the 626 designs. And, you know, if you want to step in a bit more for a small sum, you can join the network as a Beach of Dreams member, where we have monthly seminars where you meet the artists and we discuss and support you with organizing your event. And yeah, get slightly more involved. So that is that. What is your dream? And join us. So there you go. That's the Beach of Dreams.
Well, that's extraordinary, incredible to be able to put all that together. Anyway, I'm hoping that some of us in the room will ask some questions and go, what was all that about? How do we get involved? So if anyone, you know, you can unmute yourself, and, you know, because there are only a small group of us, you know, shout, wave, you know, demand, say your bit.
Yeah,
Anyone
I'm interested in what your questions about the model, because this about how we respond to a question, and as your artists, about how do you think that you might work around that kind of model of asking people a question as a springboard for creating the work.
I'm trying to absorb it all. I'm sorry, quite a tired brain at this point, and it all sounds utterly wonderful, but I need a little bit of digesting time maybe. But I'd be really keen to see what I could do in that kind of Dorset stretch of coast. So in terms of obviously you've got your structure of locations and questions, and you've got artists responding to those, but if, say, we wanted to do something at different points along the coast, could we create our own questions? What do you kind of see potentially happening there?
Exactly that. So we're just discussing that today. It would be, and if you wanted organised activity like you just talked about when you did your introduction, on a day in May on a particular coastline, that would be absolutely possible, and we'd love that to happen in May. So with the Southwest, because obviously the big moment is in September, but I think we would like there to be activity in May, which then maybe also can be shared in September. And did you say, are you part of the Southwest Coastal Connectors then?
I've been working with them, yes.
Yeah.
So you're aware of their work. I mean, I don't know. I don't know when their funding's running out, though.
Yeah, I think it is running out, but they want to
Mm.
be part of it, and they so Lorna and I was with Lorna
Oh,
and Julian in Canada, and so and they definitely, they said by September they probably would be able to support the kind of the walk-ins, but I think they'd be delighted to know that, you know, you might take on doing a walk with that hub in May.
brilliant. I am supposed to be doing the Wild Atlantic Way in Ireland in May, but but I'll see if I can do a little bit of jiggling around. No, I'd love to be part of it. It sounds brilliant.
Yeah. So in the chat, we put the links in. So, and this applies to all of you, particularly if you're in the UK. We've got regional roundtable seminars happening in the next 2 weeks, and the Southwest Coast Path is one of them, which I can't quite remember which day is which at the moment, but it's on the website. So if you want to kind of come into a Southwest Coast Zoom, there's quite a lot of people who are interested in that. So it could be, then we could start mapping out what May might look like in the Southwest, and the same for you, Tosh, in the Northeast. That would be really brilliant if you want to come, because, you know, we could do with some more action in the Northeast, that's for sure. So it's about us thinking, okay, well, where are the cold spots? And there's also one for Scotland, so there's one for everywhere in the UK. And if you're international and you're thinking, oh, I just want to hear more about a particular area, do, you know, do drop in, because, you know, we're very open.
Well, it
Tam,
certainly
yeah.
sounds wonderful, really wonderful. I'm obviously facing Fife on the other side of the Firth of Forth, and have walked the coastal path and written extensively about walking it. So it sounds wonderful, and I'd love to be involved in some way, whether that's, yeah, sort of mirroring something opposite, you know, on the Lothian coast, but opposite Fife, or whether it's sounds like you've got enough people involved in Fife. So, but I'd certainly love to be involved with an event.
Yeah. I don't know if you've come across Art Moves Fife. So 2 artists, Kate and Geraldine, is it Geraldine? Oh, Gillian, have started something called Art Moves Fife, which has come up since we were doing COP, and they came across Beach of Dreams at some of those earlier discussions, and they decided to start something. So yeah, I think it might be worthwhile coming if you want Tamsin to drop into the Scottish Zoom. Jonathan's coming as well.
Okay.
Sort of see what else might happen. I know that's a bit, it's hard getting funding out of Creative Scotland at the moment, but you know.
Now, there's also, did you speak to the oyster people, who are in the heart of New Haven, just near me, just by me?
No, I think I've heard about them, but
They're very, very active, so they must have a lot of funding, I think, and they have hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. They're planting seagrass, and they just unveiled a new mural of the oysters that have been put into the Forth as part of the project, and I've been involved in making artwork for a travelling exhibition that's been travelling for about probably nearly a year now in different art exhibitions in the Lothians and in Fife.
That called The Line, something like The Line.
No, it's called the Fourth Oyster Project or something.
Oh, okay. All right.
There was the one I was part of was called 100 Species. So they made a list of 100 species of vertebrates, invertebrates, etc., that lived on the Forth, and each artist chose one of the species and made an artwork based around that species.
And well, it might, if you are able to sort of post them a link and go, you might be interested in this, because also there are many ways. It might be actually just sharing that project as part of the platform in May. So the idea is also to shine a spotlight on things that are already happening. Like, we're definitely not reinventing the wheel, but it's about, like, actually all these amazing things that are happening around the UK coastline. It's, you know, there is some hope. It's like on that pilgrimage, we were like, you know, Rebecca Sonnet, dark, you know, light in the dark. No, what was it? Hope in the dark.
Yes. But I love the idea of questions. I think it's very important to pose a question, and it really brings people together and focuses them forward. And if those questions skillfully asked, then it, you know, has enough space for people to get excited about it and to run with it. So sounds great.
Great, thank you.
Far away, Marlene, far away.
Oh, thanks. Oh, Ali, I just think this project is astonishing. It's amazing that you've got so many things going on in so many places. But you did mention from Pittenweem to St. Andrews, and I just wanted to mention that the Scottish poet Tom Clark, who wrote In Praise of Walking, lives in Pittenweem.
Tom Clark. Yeah. Right. Is he a friend of yours?
Yes.
Would you like to tell him about the project?
Sure.
I'll just look him up and see if he wants to come to the Scottish Zoom too, which might be next week. So, because I'm sure we'll stop in Pittenweem, and that's the idea, that we'll stop in these places, and even if he comes to read a poem on the beach or whatever, that would be really fantastic. So it's about trying to curate that program. You know, and I think there will be a real legacy from this project in Fife. I mean, they're pretty well connected anyway, and they've just had their Climate Action Week. So, but I think what they like about it is this way of kind of connecting it up. So, and Julie Brooks, pretty great to work with too. So,
Yeah.
so she'll be creating her whatever she creates, probably in March and April. So she'll choose obviously to be in some challenging elemental weather to be moving her rocks around. So, yeah.
I don't know if any of you know that it's a little chapbook called In Praise of Walking, but it's just got some beautiful, Tamsin's just put something in the chat.
Yeah, it's not, it's, I'm having problems with I've taken it out again because it was, yeah, it's called, as you say, he's Thomas A. Clark, and it's In Praise of Walking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant book.
Yeah. And one of the very, very early ones to kind of focus on walking.
Yeah. I just on Zoom, yeah.
I was going to pitch in and say horror shock, Ali, but I was involved in a ceilidh on the beach in St Andrews.
Oh, wow.
And it was part of a promotional effort by Visit Scotland. They invited 8 Andrews. Well, actually, they invited 24 Andrews, 8 from the UK, 8 from Spain, and 8 from France. And they paid for us all to travel up to St Andrews and do a ceilidh, and it was all part of Visit Scotland promo. You're not going to get me doing it again. But what I do have is, therefore, I do have some contacts at Visit Scotland, so I can see whether they want to get involved or not. But you might already have contacts at Visit Scotland.
I'm not sure. We've got Keep Scotland Beautiful, I think, coming on next week. But if they want to come to the Zoom, I mean, we're definitely looking for further resource in Scotland, because Creative Scotland turned Julie Brooke down. So we're reapplying to them. But I got a connection, and Tamsin might be interesting, with Fourth Ports. So because the Fourth Ports are in Tilbury as well, they're trying to do some of the engagement work that we've done in Tilbury. So I'm going to be, trying to see if we can bring it more resource to Scotland. So
A woman I swim with works at Fourth Ports, just down the coast from here.
right.
Ask her. She's the accountant. Maybe that's the way in.
We did a project in Leith actually earlier in the year with them. So because of their port in Leith, so they're bought in. They understand it works. So that's quite good. Anybody else?
Yes, I have, Ali. One is about the way you present the role of Kinetica in this project. So that I saw that you used the term presented by Kinetica. And so I had a question about the role of the curating of this project. Are you the facilitator? Do you see yourself as a curator? Do you see yourself as a coordinator? Is this project a very horizontal project where everybody has is playing the facilitating role as much as you do? And that was just interesting how you do this.
Nice, challenging, complex question to get stuck into. So I'm the artistic director of Kinetica. And the project is a project that has grown from, as we said, T100 grown from within Kinetica. And the way that, so I am the artistic director of Beat to Dreams. And the way I've tried to design this model is to provide some kind of framework, and use the questions as a framework, and the central question around the response to the future of the coastline, and create a framework where there's something to hold it together, which is the concept, but also the silks, but there's space for other artists and other groups to come in to create their own content. So this kind of worked really well when we did Silk River, which was the work along the River Thames and connected with the River Hooghly in West Bengal. So we had these big silk story scrolls, like the story maps, like Emma was talking about, or someone was talking about the memory, Marlene was talking about the memory maps. And we would stop in each place, but what happened in each place was completely curated and designed by that community. And it was kind of I would say that the silks and the walk is like the spine of the book, and what happens in each place is like a chapter in the book, but it's under the overarching title of Beat to Dreams. So each question is another chapter. And that's the model that we've evolved and that we're experimenting with. But I kind of believe in, so I wouldn't say it's completely horizontal, but because it's got something that kind of holds it together, which is like a spine, which isn't a center point, I suppose it's like that. So I don't know what you think of that, but that's what we're experimenting with, and has largely been very popular.
Well, great to hear, man. Another question I had was about the plural that you used. You used local communities. Do you mean with that the communities in the different geographies and different places? Or are you talking about communities in the sense of diverse cultural communities? And how do you see that? What is for you a local community? Are it the people that live in a place? What are these culturally diverse groups?
Yeah, well, we've worked, so in where we're based in Thurrock, which is a borough outside London, which has many different and diverse and disparate communities. You know, what we've been doing by being in one place for 10 years is that we've been trying to find ways of engaging very different kind of communities. So as I said, we have different themes. And one year, which was specifically after the Brexit disaster, you know, we were like, well, we're not engaging with all, we haven't got all the voices around the table or on the walk, and now it's particularly important post Brexit to make sure that we do, particularly important in a place like Thurrock, which was a heavily vote leave part of the UK. So there was a lot of negativity towards different communities, and Thurrock being home to several ports is a very diverse and transient communities. So we did something called Welcome to the Kitchen Table, and we did story gathering around recipes and who gave you your recipes, where were you when you ate those recipes, and we got some really fantastic responses. And we went to we went actually to the Grays High Street. You're like, well, where are all the diverse communities? They're on Grays High Street running cafes. So, you know, we went to like those cafes and did the workshops there and looked at the food that was being eaten, and people were really forthcoming about and emotional about the food there. And so then we drew as well as writing, we drew the ingredients. So we had this table full of ingredients and say, drew your key ingredient for that recipe. And then we screen printed them. And then we made a tablecloth with like placemats of all the different recipes. And then we walked for 2 weeks, 200 miles actually, around up and down the Thames estuary. And every time we stopped to eat, we got the tablecloth out and ate off the tablecloth, which provoked further conversations. So that was a specific tool that we came up with to get more people around the table. So that's one example. So we try to kind of think about how who we might we want to have share their stories, and which questions we ask or people tell us, you know. So that, and I've really seen the benefit of being in a place over a number of years.
Mm-hmm. So you would agree that you actually cannot talk about a local community, but that it's always a plural, that there are always more communities in the local community. And I had a conversation about that recently, and there was a quite a different opinion about that. One group said, "Yeah, local community is something that is very specific, defined as people living in one place." Others said, "No, you cannot talk about one community, but you have to talk about the communities within the community. It's always a plural."
Yeah, when we did this sort of a project, so Gravesend was a place that we worked, and which has a very, and the link there was what links you to India. So it was the India UK Year of Culture. So we were looking at the diaspora cultures along communities, or what the community, what being on the River Thames meant in terms of the relationship to, what was the British Empire and the East India Trading Company, because that would where that be. And in Gravesend, they now have a massive, in the biggest Gurdwara in UK, whether it may be in Europe, but they also have, a lot of other communities. So we were like, well, what do you want to do when we come to Gravesend, as part of day 9 on our walk or whatever? And so they then consulted, and we worked with the council, actually. They then consulted their multiple communities about what that day would look like, and therefore what needed to be drawn on the silk. So one of the many things we did on that day was to go and eat in the Gurdwara. And another thing was to meet the community choir. Another thing was to hear about Pocahontas, who's got history there. So in one day, we did about 8 different things in 8 different places with 8 different communities telling their story at that moment.
Thanks, Ali.
And I think the walking, allows you to join those communities up. Even if it's in one day in Gravesend, you're walking from place to place, and in that place, is the home of the different communities. But you can take other communities with you. So the walking then means that people that don't normally go to that place come along with you on the walk. So, I think it's been a fantastic way of working, and keeps revealing potential, this kind of model. And we did something incredible in Costa Rica, where we walked for 5 days, and every day we walked into, it's a bit like the Coastal Connectors program, I would imagine, but we walked into communities. It was going from the mountains to the sea, and it was about reforestation along that corridor. And there were 5 of us from Connecticut, and then we were hosted by Costa Rican communities as we went in. We never knew where we were going to be doing this workshop, and so we were like, okay, now we say, okay, this is where you're going to do the workshop, guys. It's like, okay, there's nobody here. and then the people will come, and every day we were like, nothing's going to happen, got to get these drawings. And then somehow people would appear and go, oh, could you tell us something about your community? Oh, I haven't really got a story. It's like, and then you get the story, and somehow, never really knew how it happened, we just end up with these drawings. And then we took all those drawings to the coast, and then in the coast, all those communities came for one day to do a workshop together, and they had never met each other before. And so they met each other by sharing what was the drawings were on their silks. It was amazing, absolutely amazing.
Well, I always think, whenever I talk to Ali, I always think, wow, A, how does she do it? B, how does she even conceive the idea in the first place, let alone deliver it? Yeah. Now, one of the ways she gets to deliver things is that she's extraordinarily good at getting you to do something. So watch out. Yeah. She'll make a note exactly of all of you who've attended, and before you say next to nothing, you're going to be called up by Ali, and she's going to say, you mentioned this, I think it'd be a lovely idea. What a great idea. You could really carry that off. So just be warned.
To keep in touch, sign up to one of the regional roundtables, come and walk with us in Fife or wherever you fancy in the UK, because it's great and it makes you feel good and you make loads of friends, and why not? I mean, there's like, it is a time, I think it's probably even darker time than it was in 21. So we've got to try and make some stuff happen, but also just have a good time and be together and connect. So it's really just, please come and have a good walk together. It's been really lovely.
Well, brilliant. Thanks so much, Ali. And thanks everybody else for coming along.